The button has been pushed. Hello and welcome. I would say Merry Christmas. We're a couple days out. And actually, to be perfectly honest, you guys are going to be getting this in the midweek, which is not normally for our Monday drops. We had an interesting situation happen this morning, and I feel like it's only fair to just get this bad boy out, rip the Band-Aid off, and go. We did have an amazing guest lined up for last week for this Monday, and I'm pretty sure that I put my foot in my mouth and ruined that for all of us. So maybe down the road that will happen again, and I will learn from my lessons, or more than likely, I will continue to be too raw and genuine for some people, and it just doesn't work. What up, Shay? How are you, bud?
Hey, buddy. I'm good. How was your Christmas?
Dude, it was so much better than Thanksgiving. No COVID.
Nice. Nice. That's a low bar, but still solid to hit.
Bro, that was the only bar we were trying to hit. I made
I just
a
remember
prime
talking to you after you had recovered, and I could see you just oh my god, he looks so tired.
Dude, I was dying. Made a prime rib roast. That was delicious. That's always good eats. The kids, my daughters are 8 and 5, and so it's still magical. Christmas is still super special. So that was definitely super cool. My mom came into town, so she's been here with the girls, and it's the first time, because normally she'll come to visit them, but it'll always be after Christmas. And my oldest daughter is 8 now, and she's old enough to realize Nana isn't here during Christmas. She always comes after. So my mom and her husband came down early. So it's been super good to have them. The kids have been loving it. I've been bouncing through work and fucking up interviews for our podcast. But also locking down.
Hey, listen, if you're not making mistakes, you're not doing something right.
Dude, and this is what people don't understand. People are acting like there's some level of professionalism with this and what we're doing. There is none. There's no, they're oh, you do a podcast, you must know what you're doing. Bro, no fucking clue. Have you seen the setup? Our blurry cameras, our mismatched audio, all this shit is a learning process. Asking questions, doing this, getting guests, losing guests, fucking things up, talking about controversial topics, which is kind of why we're doing this now, right? Our last episode was what's going on with BillyBase. And if you remember, BillyBase got taken down, and then after the episode aired, I want to say, what was it, a week later?
Yeah,
Came back up.
Yeah, something like that, 5 days a week. It was just close to that.
I mean, it was close enough where it came back up. Or no, it was only a few days it came back up, but it wasn't updating, right? And then a few days later, it updated all those shows, the Fort Worth shows and the Austin shows. Because they had that fucking dope set in Austin where it was a bunch of old first time played or long time played, hundreds of days in between shows or whatever. So it was super dope. That got updated. Then lo and behold, BillyBase is back down. So.
Oh, see, now that, because we had talked about this when we did the episode about it, but I just bounce along through life, not paying attention to these things and enjoying the tunes. And I've never used BillyBase, and then I was like, all right, I'm gonna see how many shows I've been to. Oh, it's down again.
Bro, so
hey!
I use it in the Billy Things group. They do an awesome Billy Bingo where you have a bingo card. Goose ripped it off for. I mean, lots of people do the bingo card. It's not only Billy does it. But so they do a bingo card, and I always like to look at hey, what songs has he played in the last couple of days? Because people realize he doesn't play the same stuff over and over again, right? And then finding those obscure covers, oh, when was the last time he played this? Or what's a Texas themed song that he might play or whatever it was. And BillyBase was phenomenal for that. Looking that stuff up, finding out what songs he's played. Because now you know, okay, when was the last time he played these originals, right? And then when was the last time he had these covers, or how often are these covers played? And you could even sort by year to see how often covers are popular by year and how often they're played. But so I went there, I did go there a lot. I went there a lot. And then also bro, let's talk about the levels of wookdom, right? In Call of Duty, you're keep leveling up to prestige. In Billy Strings, we have BillyBase, and you just keep knocking all the shows. I'm at show 97. I've seen 100% of home, 97% of turmoil. It's your fucking placard, right? Your stats. And that was
funny because I don't feel like I've been to a lot of Billy shows compared to some of the people the circles we run with. But then I talk to people in line, and they're like, "Yeah, I've been going to Billy's show since 2022," and I'm like, "Oh."
Yes.
Am I that guy now? Like, is that what's happened? Because, like, and I only go to the shows where they come through Colorado. Like, I'm going to New Year's Eve, and this will be the first time I've seen him out of state. So, like, it's wild to just categorize that date. Well, I probably won't be able to now, but whatever.
But that's why it's like, well, and that's what we're trying to figure out, right? And so, like, you're right. Like, as the popularity has grown, more and more fans have come on, more adding and figuring it out. Billy's popularity is continuing to grow. And so, like, we brought up this conversation a couple weeks ago talking about BillyBase, and it was kind of a controversial topic, right? A lot of people, first off, to all my haters, hi, motherfuckers. Nice to see you. But, like,
you have a great day.
Yes,
and I hope you had a Merry Christmas.
And I love you, right? Like, I love you, even though you have hate in your heart. But what the real thing is like, people were coming out and they're saying, hey, why are you talking about this? Why are you stirring the pot? Why are you being so negative? What's going on? This and that. And, like, obviously with the situation, we are lucky enough to have this platform, right? And whatever people want to call it, whether they want to shit on it, which, believe me, they tell me all the time how much our fucking podcast sucks. What I want to do is thank you for listening, because you had to.
You have to listen to know you hate it.
Yes.
Actually, that's not true. That one guy hated it, and he's never listened to it.
There's lots of people that hate it, that even say, like, I've never listened to you, but you fucking suck. And I'm like, do you realize how fucking stupid you sound? Like, bro, you didn't even give me a chance, and you're already shitting all over what we're doing, but you don't even listen to what we're doing to truly understand what's going on. So with this BillyBase thing, I think a lot of stuff like that was happening because it was kind of this controversial topic, right? And, like, there's a ton of unknowns, right? And I think the issue with the unknowns is, like, we got a couple of messages from the sides, right? One was BillyBase. And if people don't know, BillyBase is a real person. It's a human being behind that profile, that website, that database. His name is Nick Confino. People that know him before this, it was Nick Goats Tofino. He was deep in the merch game before he was even doing BillyBase, okay? So, like, a lot of us knew this. He was a fan. He built this. He built the database, built it up. And so when it got taken away, as fans, we immediately wanted to go and figure out what the fuck's going on. BillyBase has continued to say, hey, I can't talk about this, right? He said in the comment on Facebook that many people have said, like, hey, there's an NDA and I can't discuss it. And now you get to the point where even if you reach out to BillyBase and you ask him a question, he'll respond and he'll say, hey, thanks for the support, but since I'm working with my attorneys, they don't want me to say anything. And that's it. Just, like, cuts everything off. So you don't necessarily know what's going on from that side or what's going on. Now, for us, when we had this episode a couple weeks ago, we were talking about, like, the corporate conglomerates and the bullshit that could be happening, right? And what's going on. And so I myself said that from what we've been seeing and hearing, right? And obviously I can't tell you who we have all talked to. I don't want to give up information that is protected, that's going to put anyone in jeopardy or hurt them, hurt their family, hurt their situation, or understand it. But I did feel like, as much as people are like, you don't deserve shit. Why do you get to know, right? Well, I mean, this is part of our scene, and I felt like it was something that we should at least be discussing, right? And so...
And also, I mean, it's not about what we deserve. It's, we asked, or you asked more specifically. Like, there's, other than just firing off a random comment on, so what's going on the Facebook, like, take the time to talk to people and try to figure out what's going on, and you'll find shit out.
You 1000% will. And sometimes it may not be directly from the horse's mouth. It could be someone from within that horse's corral, right? Or however metaphor or bullshit I need to skirt around any of this. But what was happening is I didn't want people to feel like I was just throwing shit into the wind. We weren't just starting shit to be controversial and just start shit, right? And so I wanted to talk about some potential other scenarios, because let's just go through scenario A, right? So scenario A, as we had already talked about it, is a fan built the database, BillyBase. That fan was actually hired as an employee, right? Because if you look on Live Volume 1 and you look under the credits of that album, the very third name on the list is Nick Confino. That is BillyBase. His title is Archivist. that live album was the best versions of songs from all these shows, right? And so he has been archiving these things, he's been building this database, but he wasn't just a fan. Because everyone's like, oh, well, we've seen this from Fish and we've seen this from Widespread and blah, 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 blah. I think with those situations and databases, they were never directly connected to the band.
Yeah.
Those people were never employed by the band. Hence why there was never any NDAs. And everyone's like, ooh, don't say it, but let's be real about it. The reason why BillyBase and that side isn't talking about it is because they have paperwork that they signed when they took on this role as an archivist. And let's also be real, because they signed that role, they were given exclusive rights and coverage to the shows, to the videos from the shows. I know a lot of people now are going back and they're saying, hey, those are just fan videos. If you've been paying attention, there has been a scrubbing of the website and of what the materials that are on social media, right? But before, it was direct video and photos from the band, right? There was access to the members of the band, behind the stage, all sorts of things. Now, the case is, if you're hired as an archivist, are you also hired to build this website, to update the website? Should you be paid to show up to those shows? Or if you're an archivist and you're just dealing with set lists, can you and I do that from like our basement? And now it doesn't cost, we're still being paid for our time to do that.
Yeah.
But now we don't have to like travel around to go and do those things, right? So for us, we had talked about like, I know that BillyBase was going to places, going to shows, and he was paying his own way, right? Like he would get access, but he was paying for a hotel and he was paying for a plane ticket and going and getting things out. And so
I'd seen a lot of people talking shit just because they made the assumption that it was like the guy that founded BillyBase was just. I have seen people complain and they're like, yeah, he's on the tour bus, he's flying with him, he's not paying for anything. And I'm like, no, that's not how any of this works.
Well, and see, that's the thing, and like, so that's the hard thing about like misinformation, and then like with all the wookery, right? It's like, well, prove it. Like, who'd you talk to? What are you doing? How do you know? What's going on? And it's like, my personality, I immediately want to like defend, but I also know that because of the situation that we're in, I will tell you that after that episode came out, it was two-sided. I had people that were completely on board. Hey, thank you so much for telling this story, for getting it out there, for keeping it alive, for talking about it. A lot of people are like, hey, you're on the right track. And then I had people being like, why are you so negative? Why are you trying to pull them down? What are you doing this and that for? Like, I understand. And I'm not trying to be a shithead. I am trying to have a conversation that is very relevant to our scene and what's going on. Because, like, even if it's not BillyBase, like Daniel Donato just had his own come out, right? Called Daniel Base. So like these relationships are dynamic and you can learn from one to the other about like what's going on, because BillyBase is a couple years old, Daniel Base is just brand new, right? So they should be creating and looking at the mistakes or what the opportunities for growth or learning from what's happening now to move forward in the future, right? And so going back like to the first scenario, we kind of talked about like, hey, was it this big corporate deal and then pushing them out? And now it's like, hey, we want to take over this. I know there's a lot of drama and people saying like, oh, well, Billy wants to take his live streams off of Nugs. He wants to put it on BillyBase and make it a subscription model and make people pay and yada, yada, yada.
That sounds like people just making shit up. Like worst case scenario, like. Because I see that because didn't Fish used to be on Nugs and then they started their own streaming service. So like people, and I know people I still hear people complain about that. And that was years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was almost a decade ago. And so like, and that's the thing is, but you learn from the way that this has been done in the past, right? And that's why for me, like, I just wanted to have the conversation to figure out like, as it was going on, what was going on. I felt like I wanted to bring the scenario up for people to understand like, hey, maybe this is what's happening and like big corporate is now coming after the little guy, right? And we need to band together around the little guy and help them and kind of figure out how to get his voice heard, right?
And to be clear, this is the United States of America. It is not outside the realm of reason to make the assumption that some corporate conglomerate is going after some dude. Like, that happens.
It most definitely
It's very
does.
common. It's a thing.
It most definitely does, and they have the legal framework to keep them quiet, right? And that's why for me, I was like, people need to be quiet. Well, I joked like, here comes my loudmouth entering in the room. I'm like, oh, you fucking idiot. But I did feel like, hey, like if they can't have a voice for themselves, like, hey, let's be a voice for them. But then what I wanted to bring up today was an opposite side of that coin, right? Because another way that we can look at this situation is, okay, so maybe there is this ascending artist that is continuing to grow, that's getting these good deals and selling out these coliseums and gaining popularity and making money. And maybe there is an entity that wants to cash in, right? So now the opportunity for that entity to say like, hey, here's what's going on. Here's the services that I'm providing. I want to be paid for my services. Even though in an initial conversation, was that part of the job duties when they were hiring on for an archivist, right? Like, what did that look like? Did they really want to bring that person in to build this website, or was that like a passion project that they were doing on their own? And now is that happening where they're trying to take advantage of a situation and cash out? Right? And say, hey, I'm going to hold this resource hostage. And now I'm going to say that, well, we're not going to update it. And we can't update it because we're not getting the resources. Well, maybe you're not getting the resources because you don't have a contract with the entity, right? And so like it gets super muddy of like, now this is where corporate conglomeration comes in, right? But like, it's not outside of the realm where somebody who's done their work may want to be paid for it. And they have every right to do that, right? But I think the hard part right now for us to understand is we don't get to hear from either side, right? Like we're not hearing from Team BillyBase and we're not hearing from Team Billy. And so it's really difficult because like Billy comes on and says things like, I'm just a guitar player, right? And you and I talked about like, hey, that can be a cop-out because this is part of his brand, right? And like figuring out what this is. But we also have to talk about the evolution of a band and with that growth and those growing pains, right?
It is, I said this last time, like, I would have not been surprised to find out that, like, with all this, it's kind of like how at one point the AI art kind of snuck in and they're just like, guys, we've just been so busy, it just got by. Like, we weren't paying attention, we'll do better next time. I would have not have been surprised to find out just because of the layers of the way corporations and things work. And let's be clear, the music industry is an industry. It's a business. These are companies. They're LLCs. They're run just like any other company in a lot of ways. I would have not have been surprised to find out that, like, the band themselves didn't really have a lot to do with it, and they just had somebody popping in every now and then and saying, hey, this is what's going on. And they're like, yeah, that's whatever. I got to practice this song. And not being super on top of it, which would have also been totally acceptable. And like, I was kind of leaning in that direction, but
man, do I have a story for you later.
I am not now.
Definitely not now. But so for me, it's been hard because like I have definitely been a loudmouth and I have started conversations.
I've never noticed that, Cody.
No, not at all. I make.
It's much like me. I'm constantly being told, Shay, speak up.
Oh yes, louder for the back. Fuck,
yeah.
the people next door can hear, okay? So we're not worried about that. I definitely have made some provocative like internet memes and things like that. But what I want people to do is I want them to understand that it's a conversation, right? And I know that we talked about like fan entitlement and deserving or not deserving of what's going on. But that's where I want to talk with you about the evolution and the growth of Billy Strings and the band and the entity, Billy Strings LLC, right? And like, as you continue to progress and grow, what that looks like and how those changes happen and how hard it is to stay true to yourself, right? But also continue to ascend and grow and be in a place, right? And so like, I think it's really hard because we see like, oh, he just got this big deal. Oh, he's the #1 bluegrass album on Billboard. Like now he's the #1 album as a bluegrass musician that hasn't happened since Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, right? Like, so there's some big shit happening and it's trying to figure out like, what does that look like? for us as fans and even myself, it's like, oh, he signed with Warner Brothers. That means big corporate conglomerates and bullshit and what's going on. And the fact is like, we don't know, right? We don't know, and it's hard to decipher, but then you start to find out things, right? And you start to learn, and people start to give you things, and maybe they don't want to put their name on it, and they don't want their name out there, but they would like some of that truth to come out, right? And so I definitely had people on both sides of the fence that have had discussions, right? And have talked about what we're doing and wondering like, hey, what's your end game? And realistically, the end game is information, right? Like for us as a podcast, this is entertainment. If you find it entertaining, most of it's just us bullshitting and talking about fun stuff that we like. And that's like confusing to us. And that's why like the name of the podcast is What's the Reason for This, right? And so with BillyBase, what we were trying to figure out last episode is like, what's the reason for this? And I think that I did a bad job as a host, and I'll blame you too because you didn't fucking save me, is only telling it from one side, right? And potentially shining the light just on one scenario without giving the opportunity for the other side to kind of tell their situation or what it could be. Now, that's why I'm saying with the two hypotheticals, I firmly believe that the truth is probably somewhere in the middle.
That's almost always the case.
Right? Like,
yeah.
Always.
It's very rare that an issue, a multifaceted issue, is either like A or B, you know? It's usually like, somewhere in the middle, there's a little bit of truth here, a little bit of truth there, and then it's that like, the truth is typically a gray wash, it's not black or white.
Oh, 100%. So like, it could be very easy that somebody's like, I'm so smart, I couldn't be manipulated, right? That's narcissism. But somebody could say, hey man, here's what you need to talk about, and then fucking loudmouth goes and talks about it, and then somebody else is like, hey, you should talk about this, and now, hey, here's talking out of both sides of my mouth, trying to figure out what's going on. But that's why for me, I don't want to say definitively this is happening one way or the other, right? What I want to do is talk about the possibilities of either or. I truly believe that the truth will get out eventually and what's going on. But so, like, I've been doing all this. I've been getting shit on by lots of people. I've had lots of other support. It's a double-edged sword. You yourself have gotten the same thing. Please send all the shit talking about me to Shay. He really enjoys it.
It's good. It's good stuff.
He does a good job of making jokes. If you send it to me, I'm just going to fucking chirp back, and nobody wants that. and Shay always tells me to shut up, and I'm like on my group chat, and he's like, just don't. And I'm like, ah, you can't fucking stop me.
Too late.
Yeah,
what happens is I'm like, Kodi, just ignore it. And then he's like, I didn't ignore it. And then like 6 screenshots of the conversation on Facebook. And it's like, that's out there now.
Well, yeah, and that's who we are now. But that's where like, I don't want to apologize, but I tell people like, I am genuine to a fault, right? Like, if you met me on the streets, like, this is Kodi. Like, not to speak in third person like a fucking sports star, but like, I am who I am unapologetically. Like, you will get the same me out in the streets as you would behind the podcast or at a show or whatever it is, right? And I feel like Shay is actually fucking louder and more fucking in your face in person. I put him on camera, and then he's like, but that's where it's like, I don't want to be something that I'm not just for like an entertainment value. Like, I ask these people real raw questions and get into some dirty topics, but it's coming from a good place. I'm never trying to put anybody in a bad place. And so I was going to work this morning, and I got a friendship request on Facebook. And I'm like, oh, okay, we'll fucking see who this is. It says William Apostle. And I'm going, fuck, this must be one of those like Vietnamese spam accounts that's going to get me to pay for a William Apostle account and blah, blah. And so I click on it, and first thing I do is click on the profile, see the friends, mutual friends, and I'm like seeing all these people that I know together. And it's like very clearly Billy Strings' personal Facebook. And I try to call you, and I try to call my wife, because I'm like, well, first off, this isn't fucking good. Like, why is Billy Strings sending me a fucking friend request on Facebook?
Oh no, is this the warning a cease and desist is coming?
Again? No. Like,
that never happened.
Yeah, no, it's never, right? Because we are good boys. We were on the nice list. But so fucking, he sends me a friend request. It's early in the morning, and I try to call you, and I try to call my wife, because you're the only two that can support me. And neither of you motherfuckers answer. So I keep driving.
To be clear, I was asleep.
Really?
Yeah,
God
I didn't
damn it.
work today, so I rolled over and like saw something. I was like, I'll deal with that later, whatever that is. It wasn't until I got up and I was like, what?
Dude, so this motherfucker. So what happens later, about 10 minutes later, I'm driving to my office up north in Colorado, and my phone starts vibrating like a phone call. But it's Facebook Messenger, and it's William Apostle on a fucking video. And Shay, dude, I know. It was more like shitting bricks, right?
Yeah.
Like, wait, like this has gotta be like total felt like scam, like
Yeah.
this is happening.
Do you want to meet Billy Strings? Just give me your social security number and we'll connect you.
Sure, perfect. What else do you need?
Okay, here you go.
Child? Like, let's go. I love Billy. So I fucking pull it up and I answer. First off, it wasn't a phone call, it was a video chat. And who's on the other fucking side of this screen? Billy motherfucking Strings. And I'm like, hi, Billy. And he's like, hey man, I just wanted to talk. And I'm like, about what? Like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? And so, like,
what do you think my next album should be about?
Bro, yeah, because he really gives a fuck about that or anything like that. And so, like, it was crazy to me because, like, first off, like, why the fuck? I've been lucky enough. I have great friends in the scene from within. We have other musicians that we've talked to and been connected with. This is literally somebody we've idolized for almost a decade, right? Like, fucking love this dude. And so, like, the only thing that would have been bigger for me is, like, Bob Weir calling me and being like, hey, how short should I cut my short shorts? Like, fucking, and I'd be like, short, Bob.
See, I get that joke. I understand that
let's
joke.
Let's see those balls, bro. Like,
yes.
Let's go. But,
give it the fruit bowl.
Like, literally, Billy Strings fucking calls me and he's like, hey, man, I just want to talk. And it was fucking insane because, like, I've been lucky to catch him early on in the scene where he was still so present, and he was very present on social media. He was very receptive to comments and messages and doing Instagram lives, and he built his brand through social media, right? And we all know that he pays attention to what's going on, right? And for me, he called and he's like, I just need somebody to talk to. And in my mind, I'm going, why the fuck is it me? But thank you. Like,
please don't ask me any serious life advice.
Dude, and we had a fucking deep I talked to this man for 52 minutes. So, like, this wasn't some, like, short little conversation. Like, we had some real conversations about real shit. And, like, the first and foremost is he loves Nick. And he's so appreciative of the database and what it was. And he wanted to make sure that I was never putting Nick in a bad light. Right? He's like, hey man, like, I love what you do. And I was like, oh, you know what I'm doing? Yes. Like, fucking stupid
your friend needs to look at the camera, but yeah.
Fangirl shit, right?
Yeah.
And, like, he's just talking about some things, and he's like, he's talking about the Colorado refund from renewal, and he's talking about some of this stuff, and it's really hard for him because before he would be able to, like, get in and respond and be a part of creating that narrative. Right? And now, for whatever reason, and, like, we know the reasons, as he continues to grow, they have to protect him. And so, like, instead of telling us that we're going back to our shitty lives on Monday at renewal, like, there's just stupid.
Honestly, don't remember that, but I can see why people got butthurt. Personally, I get it, and I think that's hysterical.
Dude, I thought it was fucking amazing. When he said, I was like, fuck yeah, Billy, let's go.
Yeah, my job sucks. I don't want to go back to my job.
Monday's going to be a bitch. And, like, I totally got it. And then, like, all the fucking asshole Chads and Karens were like, Billy went back to his shitty life fishing with Les Claypool. Like, okay. Like, fuck off. But I think that some of that stuff, because, like, Billy's been responsive, right? And, like, that's what we love about him is he's been so raw. And I think recently, and with my conversation with him, it's killing him. It is killing him on the inside to not be able to help curate all those conversations or battle back some of that stuff. And, like,
part of that is just the sheer volume. When you're as popular as he is, like, if you're going to respond to every shitty comment, that's your full-time job.
Well, and that's where I think that, like, for a lot of people, like, you don't know what fame is until you're in it, right? And, like, for Billy, like, even he told me this, right? He's like, the music saved me, man. Like, you go back and look at some of those early shows, and he's just playing fast and hard and singing hard, and this is exactly what he told me. He's like, and I'm just hoping that it's gonna save me, right? And literally now his music and that sheer determination has gotten him to get to this place that we've never seen a bluegrass band get to, right? And for him, I think what we have to remember, just like Nick is a person behind BillyBase, Billy is a person behind Billy Strings, right? And I think in the GQ article, they did a really good job of capturing some of the stress and anxiety that he's been going through. And I don't think that people realize how much he truly cares about his fans, about the product that he's putting out there, and the perception, right? And so when he sees some of this stuff, he wants to respond, but he may not have the ability to. And he directly said, like, hey man, I'm not asking you to go out and do anything, right? He literally called me because he wanted to have a conversation. And now I will tell you, for all the fucking haters that are probably shitting on me, I asked his permission if I could talk about some of the things that we discussed. And he's like, hell yeah, man. I want people. He said, I love what you're doing, right? So fuck all of you guys. Like, I don't care anymore because old Billy Boy said that he loves what we're doing. So you're stuck with us now. We're fucking locked in. You already were, so it didn't matter.
We have received positive reinforcement for our bad behavior, and it will continue.
Always and forever. But like for him, he really wanted to make sure that like people knew that like he hated being thought of like being a sellout, right? And like he's like,
I just want to interrupt you and say this, and this is one of my biggest pet peeves in the music industry. Being successful does not equate to being a sellout. And that is like, I get so angry when just someone's like, well, Billy's popular now, he's a sellout. I'm like, so like, what do you want? Do you want these bands to just not have what they have? Like, because I get the protective aspect of it. If you started going to see, I saw him on the side tent, and now he's selling out Ball Arena or whatever, and it bothers you because you're not one of 30 people at the show or whatever.
That's you, Chuck. Like, that's you, fucking Chuck. Go watch a Taylor Swift show.
Yeah,
God,
love you, buddy.
Personal attacks. I'll lose another guest.
Yeah, but that's what we're here for. No, but it's really funny because like this goes all the way back to every band I've ever been into that has gotten popular and things like that. People, as soon as they start getting big, like, well, they sold out. I'm like, well, no, like this is the trajectory you want if you're an artist. Now, I'm not saying some people that are successful don't sell out. Like that does happen, but just because you succeed, because you put in the time and the effort to get where you want to be, that doesn't mean you're a sellout. It means you work hard. You know, once you have that success, what you do with that, well, then that can change whether or not people think you're a sellout. But
well, and anybody that's been following Billy Strings sees how dedicated he is.
Oh yeah, like, you know, like I said, I've never met the man, and you know, but it just every impression I've ever had of him from every interview and stuff, it's just like he seems like a genuine dude. Which, you know, there's a lot of musicians that are like that, and there's a lot of musicians that are shitheads. There's a whole rainbow of people out there, and not everyone's the same.
That was some of what we talked about. I was like, hey, a lot of people just put up bullshit deflectors, and they don't give a fuck what anybody says, but like, he is such a genuine person, and that's been part of who he is, that's why some of this shit like irks him and kills him. And like the Warner Brother things and like being a sellout, I think was really something that he didn't want to hear, like, oh, they're doing it all for the money or whatever it may be. He was like, man, I made sure that if I wanted a dick as my album cover art, that I had the ability to do that. And he's like,
I desperately want an album now that's a cock and balls, but it's like a guitar.
Yeah, dude, or something, right? And he's like, I did sign a contract with Warner Brothers. It's a distribution contract. And guess what? They're fucking killing it because our boy is all over everywhere all the time. And they're doing a good job. And he's trying to keep his creative like aspect of the brand with under him. But let's also not fucking pretend he has an amazing management team, right? And that management team has to protect the entity that is the business. Because as much as he is a musician and an entertainer, they have to protect him. So whatever the fuck is happening with BillyBase, like we said, is potentially from one side to the next, and we'll start to figure out what it is. But what I wanted people to know from the fucking horse's mouth is that he doesn't want people to feel like he's money hungry. He truly cares about this. He cares about the fans. He wants to get shit figured out. But he also isn't the only person that's involved in this decision-making process.
There is a massive organization behind that band.
Yes.
Massive.
And that's what it is. And I mean, like he said, nobody's the boss of me but me, right? And so at the end of the day, Billy Strings is Billy Strings, but also let's not pretend that some kid from Muir, Michigan was prepared to become one of the biggest musicians of our time right now, right? And so like there's a lot of learning and growth, and with that growth comes pain. And like I truly feel like that's what made him reach out to me, was that he was feeling that. I don't know why I was lucky enough to be able to have that conversation, but to just sit here and talk with someone, like, because I didn't have a fucking second to prepare for it, right? Like it was literally like, this is fucking happening. I'm having a deep ass conversation with one of my idols right now, right? And then you're like figuring it out. And so I definitely fangirled it up. My fucking wife has been giving me so much shit.
Keep it up, girl.
I'll be sure to post some of the lovely memes that my wife also made, making fun of me. But like, when it comes down to the BillyBase thing, I think that what we have to do is be supportive of both sides, and hope that what we can do is support the truth when the truth comes out and what the situation is. What we do need to know is that the man himself, right, does feel a certain way, and that they're trying to figure things out. But like I said, like now that lawyers are involved, it's not like he can just say, hey, this is what we're doing or whatever it is. And if it is the situation where somebody's asking to get paid, then okay, well now we have to have that evaluation time, right? Like how much is this really worth, or what does, and like that's where it's so hard, and there's so many things that come into the fame and growth and what's going on. And if the path hasn't been trudged before you, then you have to cut all that shit down, and it can get kind of nasty.
I mean, that's the entertainment industry. I mean, that's, you know, and there's just story after story after story of these different kinds of, you know, legal disputes and disagreements, arguments, whatever you want to call it. And I mean, like, ideally, to be clear, the solution is something where everybody gets what they want. Like some sort of, I mean, obviously you'll have to compromise something, I'm sure. That's typically how negotiations work. But, you know, it's really you know, it's not an either or thing, I don't think. At least it shouldn't be.
And I think what people should understand, at least from our perspective, is I'm not stirring the fucking pot just to like get likes or views or listen to the podcast, right? Like we were bringing this up because it's a serious conversation. And I also feel like some of the conversation and my comments on these groups was what gave Billy the reasoning to reach out to me, right? Because like, why fucking else? Why else? And
we're just so charming, Kodi.
That's not true. Although I do have a hot wife, so something.
At least somebody thinks it is. Yeah.
Something works sometimes, okay? And I don't know about what that balance looks like, but to like hear Billy talk about like how happy he is just playing the guitar around River, right? And like talking about that feeling and how good it feels to just play the guitar in a room with his son, not in a coliseum with thousands of people, right? Like he likes that isolation and those emotions that comes with it. And for him, he wants to continue to feel that way. And we know from the GQ article that he's feeling burnt out. They're doing less shows than they were before. And so this is a growth and this is an evolution.
Which, to be clear, if you just had a baby, is the right thing to do, in my opinion.
1,000%. And
I have heard people be like, that's stupid. You should just bring the kid with him. I'm like, you've clearly never had a son.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think that it's hard for people that, if you never had a kid, you don't even know that. Now think about being in a band, more or less like a very high grossing band doing nationwide, potentially another like Europe tour. Like that's a lot. And for an infant to travel like that, that's a lot to ask of somebody to do. And like we had even joked, because I was like, oh, you know, people were bitching about the renewal thing. And I had my cringe fest when he talked about the Colorado refunds. And I was like, oh, I've never talked about that. Who would have known about? Dude, I was dying in my chair when he was talking about it. But he's like, yeah, man, I'm reading things like, oh, well, she should have just had her birth scheduled before. And he's like, we wanted to have a natural birth. Like, what's so wrong with that, right? But then for us as fans, we're like, how come he wasn't here? Whatever the fuck. And it's like, I think a lot of us can get ahead of ourselves. And that's why, for me, I wanted to come and do this follow up to this episode to kind of put some human and emotion to it and understand, like, although we don't know what the fuck's going on with BillyBase, whether it's scenario A or scenario B or a likely middle of the two or even a fucking wild card scenario C that nobody has any fucking idea about, but that's just what it is. We may never know that, right? What I do know is that I stirred enough emotion that for some fucking reason he picked up his phone today and just felt like having a chat. And then once we got to, and this is what I will tell some of the people that don't like me, hey, reach out to me, man. I'll talk to you. I will talk to you. Shay will tell me not to, and I will. And I will do it. And I've even had some people be like, damn, that was a great response. Like, I did not realize that's what was going on. But I also can't be like this fucking arrogant dickhead, although I am loud, right? We have to tread lightly. And that's where I was going back to you and I talking about this. Like, we don't know what the fuck we're doing. I had no fucking clue. I had Billy Strings call my fucking phone today because I'm stirring shit on a podcast.
It's like, I gotta go to work. What's happening?
Bro, dude, I could not get over, like, it still feels like it was a fucking dream, right? Like, and like, honestly, I feel like he video chatted so that he could see me as a person, right? And like, no bullshit, like, hey, who are you around? What are you doing? Right? Like, what's going on? And then it was just like, I told my wife, it was like talking to one of my best friends. We just had a real ass conversation about some real ass topics. It wasn't all BillyBase. It wasn't even mostly BillyBase. Most of it was just fucking life, stress, anxiety, mental health. And that's where I think that people don't understand how hard this can be on the person and not the band. Like, we bitch about not getting tickets on the pre-sale, right? And in the grand fucking scheme of what this dude is fucking dealing with, it's like a whole different ballgame.
And he's also still at that point where he's just not sleeping because he has a 6-month-old baby, however old the kid is now.
You better believe I asked. It wasn't even 6 months, like three months. And I asked him, I was like, hey, has River slept through the night yet? And he's like, no, man. And like, and like, know that, right? And like, as a father, it was fun to like connect and talk to him. And I think like, for him, he just wanted someone to talk to, right? He wanted to connect with somebody. I still don't know, like, why. Like, I asked Nicole, which is my wife, I'm like, why? Like, why would, hey, this fucking, also, I made a joke about the
daughter,
chairs.
Right? Not a son.
Son, River.
No, what's not? It is, okay, I couldn't remember what, yeah. I was okay, just making sure.
Just so that I get this on camera and we can all fucking have a good chuckle about it. I talked about the debauchery of the poster folding and the chair tossing, and he laughed, okay? So that's affirmation.
This is not the reinforcement you need.
Yes, that is affirmation to fuck those chairs and the fuck those chairs movement, okay? Like, this is from the man. He laughed, okay? He knows it's bullshit. He's full of it. I'm going to get him to say it on camera at some point and fuck all you chairs, empty chair motherfuckers. But it was fucking cool, and it was great perspective. And like, I just want to make sure, like, I'm not picking sides, whether it's like Team Nick and Team BillyBase or Team Billy and Team Billy Management, whatever the fuck. Like, I want us to figure it out. I think it's an amazing resource. I know that there's some way that they can come to an agreement of whatever the fuck's going on. I want us as fans to realize that our words and the conversations that we have do make an impact, right? And they actually make an impact on the person that we all fucking love and follow and listen to more than we may know, right? Like, obviously, I'm a troll and I throw shit on the internet to get a response sometimes, right? What I don't realize is the response that puts in someone like the person Billy Strings, right? And for me, I don't want to add more turmoil and stress and anxiety to someone that already has so much shit going on. Like, does it really matter about me bullshitting about a fucking online archive database to like make his life more hard, right? Not that I have that power, but like, just because there's more comments and then he's reading to this shit, he feels like, oh, this sucks because he wants to respond, but he's not. So then it's like, well, how the fuck do we do this? And how do we find that middle ground? And like, I asked him if there was anything he wanted from me, and he's like, no, man, just keep doing what you're doing. And so it was nice. It was not the affirmation that we needed because we're going to keep fucking going now. And you guys are stuck with us forever. And no matter what, I'll always remember the time that Billy Strings called me, and we're going to fucking keep this podcast going for 27
That's gonna
years
be
now.
on your resume, skills. FaceTime with Billy Strings.
52 minutes and 18
52
seconds.
minutes.
Or whatever the fuck
successfully, successfully facilitated visual communications with William Apostle for 52 minutes. You gotta
Grammy award-winning
artist. Yes, yeah, but you gotta have those keywords in there for the AI.
Those are the big ones, or else people don't really know. Like, hey, how cool are you, right? And that's where I think it's funny because like some of these dudes come out to us and they're like, why are you? And I know you don't fucking get in the muck as much as I do, and even when you do, you regret it immediately. But yes. I do.
Although I do like firing off a nice stupid joke once in a while, and they're like, "Really, that's your contribution?" I'm like, yes, my contribution is posting "Thanks, Obama."
Or a fucking haiku that's not an actual haiku.
Oh man, that was real bad. And I picked that could not have been the worst group to do that in. As soon as it went up, I was like, "Oh no!" And I tried to edit; it was too late.
Delete and retreat, boy. Delete and retreat.
Fall back!
I fucked up.
Oh no! I've made a mistake.
So that was literally the fucking butthole puckering moment I was going through because I was like, first off, I was like, well, why would he be doing this himself directly, right? If it was like I'm in trouble, then it would be like the corporate suits that come after me. So like, why is this going on? So like, I was shitting bricks, and then after I talked to him, I was on fucking cloud nine, and I could not go through the rest of my day. And my wife is sending me messages like, do you think Billy Strings thinks about talking to you all day? Like you think about talking to him? And I'm like, you bitch. And I was like, hopefully he only thought about it once. And even if it's for a second, he thought about me. And that's enough for me to know, right? Fucking stupid. But at the end of the day.
Hey, Billy, I promise I won't faint at your shows.
No, he doesn't.
I can't control that.
Yeah, needs to drink more fucking water. But that's where, so like, we'll see what goes on. There is more to the story. There's more that comes out. I think that there's a reason why each side is quiet, right? And I think realistically, we just have to understand that there's always going to be multiple versions of a story of what's going on, that we can try to correlate one to the other or what something means and doesn't mean. But at the end of the day, until it comes out or until we are told, hey, this is what's going on, we don't know shit, right? And it's hard, and it's not saying that we can't question Billy because then it makes him a sad Billy and we don't want a sad Billy. But I think just being realistic about like, hey, how do we do this respectfully for all parties involved and make sure that, because for me, I just want to feel like everyone's voice is being heard and then there's a decision being made, right? Rather than just like shutting somebody up like I do to you by talking over you the entire time.
No, you've never done that. Never. That's okay.
Again, because
I can tell.
Too fucking slow.
Fine.
But yeah, man. So it'll be interesting to see where this comes. You're leaving for New Orleans when?
Tomorrow, or fly. I got to be at the airport at like 9, I think, and then what? The show is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Yeah.
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
And it's funny. I was just discussing this with a friend that I have like an unreasonable amount of anxiety about the fact that like the people I'm going with, like this is, yes, we're going to Billy New Year's, but like if you and I were there, we'd be in line at every day at 9 a.m. But this is probably not going to be one of those things.
Yeah.
So like Alex is like, "Are you worried about the poster?" I'm like, "No, it's fine. It's fine, man. I may not get the posters. It's fine.
Everything's great.
You know,
I highly suggest this strategy where you buy a $5 camping chair and then you place it out there
and just
empty.
Leave it.
Put a what's the reason for this podcast logo right on that bad boy.
That chair will have been burned to the ground by the time I get back.
Bro, you really think the Wooks hate us that bad?
Oh, I don't think all of them do. I think some of them do.
Dude, some of them definitely fucking do. And you know what?
Some of those guys have had their chairs tossed.
I fucking love it. They did get their chairs tossed. And that's what's funny is most of the people that are fucking bitching and complaining, and like, I love it. The people that are like, you're being too negative. I'm like, says the fucking Wook huffing nitrous all fucking day in line that then lets 17 people in front of him. Like,
hey man, it was 2 for $20, no deals. You can't pass that up,
bro. I paid for 4 and I only got 3. That's the real trick, okay? That's how you
take it to the Better Business Bureau, dude.
yeah, motherfucker. They're like, listen, I'm gonna start bringing fucking helium and giving people helium, and for those real special looks, I'm gonna start farting in balloons and they can huff that.
Yes.
Dude, I would. Dude.
Then you're like, I'm inside you.
Yeah, be like, oh, it's like Cartman when Scott Tenorman eats his family in the chili.
Oh, that's so good. I watched that episode the other day, actually.
Scott Tenorman's tears. This is.
Oh.
That's what's up. So I don't think we're gonna have BillyBase for New Year's. I feel like you're gonna have an awesome time. Did you see?
This will also, interestingly, this is the first time I've ever been in the stands with a seat for one of their shows. No, we're not on the floor. That ship sailed so fast because the time zone fucked up, and the other reason I got tickets was my buddy that I'm meeting down there was like, "Are you going?" I was like, "I'll deal with it later," and he's like, "All right, you owe me $400. I bought you and Alex 2 tickets." I was like, "All right, that'll work."
Locked in.
They're good seats. They're good seats. It's just it'll be interesting because I'm always on the floor, so there'll be a much different experience.
Well, if you want to get on the floor, we got Fred. We can figure that out.
We'll discuss that offline.
Yeah, well, I mean, nobody's going to discuss it here. The other question is, did you see the request thing that they're doing?
No.
Bro, you haven't seen the song request? And I'm pretty sure the leading song is Gucci Mane's Lemon Stand or some shit. Fucking, it is just some terrible fucking
Give me
song.
Nutshell or give me death, you sons of bitches!
You're not getting...
I'm going to be in the bathroom when they play it or some stupid shit. Or what's going to happen is I'm going to sneak off because I'm thinking, oh, they're going to play a song I've heard before to get a poster, and I'm going to hear that opening riff, and I'm going to be so mad.
You're like, fuck! And you got to start running back. Like,
just throw money at the people and take my poster.
You're like, just figure this out. But, okay, here, wait, time out. So you were talking about the AI poster, right?
Yes.
I told you I had a little story. This is how we will end this ditty. So we were talking, obviously, Billy and I.
And your long-term close personal friend, William Apostle. Yeah.
BFFBS is what I call him now.
Get a tattoo the date of the conversation of BFFBS.
So me and BFFBS were discussing things, and he's talking about how he wanted to like help homies and grow this from fans. And the AI art poster was actually one of the fans or something that he was trying to hook up and give an opportunity to sell a poster, and then it was fucking AI.
I would love to know the story behind that. Like, because, like, I don't know. Maybe I should stop trying to see the best in people because I'm disappointed a lot. But, like, I could see somebody getting that opportunity, freaking out, getting a creative block, and then, oh, fuck it, I'll do AI. But also, I could see somebody just taking advantage of that situation and intentionally from the get-go being like, yeah, I'm not putting time into this.
Yeah, well, and that's the sad part because, like, when we talk to Owen Murphy, right, it's like there truly is a process to making that art. And I feel like you can see that. And this was another thing that people were shitting on Billy for is like the quality of posters or poster art, right? And they think, oh, he's just trying to sell more posters for more money and pay shittier artists less for whatever. And it's hard because the skepticism and negativity just kind of festers, right?
Yeah. Well, the biggest turd floats to the top of the punch bowl, man. I always say that.
And that's why the loudest isn't always the best or the right one. So you got to be smart and for me, it's I believe Roman or Greek term, the sophists. They like to know their opponent's argument just as well as they knew their own, right? And so for me, I love that methodology because if I know how my opponents feel or what the counter argument is, then I know my argument and how I feel that much better, right? Whereas if I'm just in an echo chamber trying to reiterate what I already know or what I already believe, that's not cognitive or conducive to growing a different thought process, right? Whereas reading the other side and going, oh, fuck, that kind of makes sense, but this shit's batshit crazy. But then you at least find like some middle ground. Whereas I think a lot of us, for so often, it's just cut and dry, like, hey, he's a fucking sellout, he's just trying to make money, fuck him, blah, blah, blah. And then, meanwhile, we're fucking cursing him, and then Sad Billy's at home looking at his fucking phone going,
these guys are so mean.
Well, I'm not trying to make him sound out to be some fucking wimp or something, but, like, what we have to understand is, like, there's an emotional toll on that, right? And because you and I have talked about it, like, we have people shit on us and what we're doing, and we're super small time, right? And that impacts us and our ability of how we feel of what we're doing. Like, should we keep doing this? Am I really as big of a piece of shit as they said? Am I negative, or am I not adding something positive to the scene? You question that. I think just like for us, we have other people that build us up, and they're like, hey man, I love what you're doing, I love what's going on. And Billy, he essentially said that, right? And he's like, hey man, I appreciate what you're doing, and I'm thankful for the conversation that we had today. And like, for me, like, that's fucking amazing, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was fucking. And then I was joking with Nicole. I was like, so how many days do I wait before I text him back and say, it's for the great conversation? Or how do I leave my
Happy New Year, friends!
How do I leave my sweatshirt at his house so that I can come get it later? Like, like, what am I going to do this? But who fucking knows? What I do know is I love the man. I love the scene. I love what we're doing. I know not everybody does, but to be perfectly honest, fuck them. We're not going to be for everybody. I do think that there's a great conversation to be had.
I have been told I am an acquired taste, Cody. Do you know who told me that? My father.
Yeah, well, you saw the shirt my mom gave me.
That was great.
Shit. Yes. So, I mean, we know that. We know that we're a little bit different, but I also think that's what makes it special, because you're not going to come and listen to the same cookie cutter bullshit from us. Right? And I think both of us can give some educated and raw conversation talking points, right? And that's all.
Not so educated, but yeah.
Because you're fucking looking at the screen the whole time we record. I spend hours before every episode trying to figure all this shit out.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
I listen to other people's interviews so I don't ask the same fucking questions about the same shit all the time. I try to be creative, and then I get in trouble, and then fucking people call me and yell at me, and then people on the internet tell me I'm a piece of shit, and fuck. The best one, and now since we did this Billy Strings phone call, it is so great. Somebody sent me a message and it said, how would you feel if you met Billy Strings in person? And I was like, I feel fucking great. I'd tell him I loved him and I'd have no issues. Because they're essentially saying that I'm stirring the pot so much that would it be fucking awkward? No, motherfucker, it won't. He called me. I love him, and that's okay.
I'd say 5 days. No, don't ask him for 4 or 5 days. At least maybe a week.
Well, because I got to get after the New Year's show, right? I'd be like, killer set, bro. Like,
Nice shit, bro.
When do I slide in the dick pic? Like,
Whoops, didn't mean to send that to you. My bad. Yeah, wrong person, bro.
Like, and now I'm getting sued for sexual assault.
Oh.
And my wife is going to go, if she ever listened, would go, why do you have that on the podcast? And I'll go, because it's fucking funny. All right?
That fact.
I'm going to do it at 4 a.m. too. Just like the song told me to.
Don't go sending dick pics at 4 a.m., bro.
They're like, oh my God, I've been waiting for this for 7 days. Where have you been? Terrible. All right. Well, Happy New Year. We love you guys. We appreciate all the fans that have listened, that love us, that hate us, everything in between. We have a huge year coming up. I can't tell you how excited I am for some of these guests. Hopefully I don't fuck it up before they actually get on. And we'll see you guys in 2025.
Yeah, I'll see you guys next year, bro.
Yeah, bro. I'll see you next year. All right. We're out.
What's the button? The fucking button do that?